Happy Friday to you. Welcome to the Digital Discovery Show. My name is Despina Karatsias. I am the proud General Manager / Chief Navigator here at Tourism Tribe and Navii Digital. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Digital Discovery Show, which is a show that's born out of our pleasure and our honor here at Team HQ, Tourism Tribe and Navii, that we have daily to help small businesses around Australia with their digital discovery journey. Now, as you join us live and if you are joining us watching the recording afterwards, I encourage you to share your comments, share your aha moments, and certainly feel free to engage and ask any questions from our special guest today. Speaking of our special guest, the theme and the topic that we are going to explore together is looking through the content marketing crystal ball. Don't we wish we could all have one of them? And looking at marketing trends for 2021. Now, her name is Hannah Statham, and she's from the media Mortar. Now, Hannah, she might only be just clear of 5 foot, but she could easily enter herself into a heavyweight content marketing competition. Her signature move, you might ask, planting a target on your audiences. Oh, apologies. What is happening? That is not what we want. That's the sound. That's the sound we were talking about with my team. So see, she's so awesome. It's like she's just entered a ring, right? That was just like she's entered a ring and she's ready to go for it because she is a heavyweight champion at content marketing. So she's first and foremost a content marketer, creating words, images, and videos for clients. They are very important content pillars there. The kind of content that stops people in their thumb scrolling tracks. With 10 years experience in tourism and lifestyle marketing, Hannah brings a contagious energy to every task she does. She's as creative as she is strategic and spends most of her time unashamedly working on her clients' big picture. When she's not refreshing her Instagram feed, you'll find Hannah searching for the best gnocchi in Brisbane. She's a dear friend to us, and I welcome to you to the show, Hannah. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Beautiful intro.
Oh, my pleasure. And how perfect. I had the little ding dong as soon as I'm like, she's a heavyweight content marketing
Exactly. I was like, have you prepared something for me that's special?
Yeah, I think there's something in that. You know, like get in the ring, like a content marketing, like dance-off type thing. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Like a competition. So, Hannah, Media Mortar, tell us about your journey in becoming such a content marketing extraordinaire and your inspiration to start your beautiful business, Media Mortar, and how you could, and helping others with their content, digital and social media marketing strategy and content creation.
Yeah, sure. So I set up the business 3.5 years ago now. So it sort of started like a lot of good stories do. It was a bit of an accident in that I had been working in content, and my background's actually as a publicist. So I've been working in PR, and I saw the move towards content, and everyone was starting to make all this noise about content being king. Content's king. Everyone needs all of this content, but there wasn't really a huge amount of content agencies at the time, or people who just specialized in making the content. So I guess I had always worked in-house. So if you wanted to get content developed, you had to go to a big agency who specialized in full service marketing. So media buy, ads, TVCs, all of those sorts of things. And then you would be sent to their content team, who was sort of 2 people sitting in the corner, and they didn't really have they were specialists at content, sure, but that's not all they did. The agency did so much more than that. So I guess when I started Media Mortar, I just wanted to have an agency that just specialized in content, so developing the words and the images and the videos. how I guess my sort of philosophy around content is that in Australia, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, it's, we can't compete on price. Our wage bills and rents and utilities, it's all too high. So we must compete on story. So if we're competing on story, the best way to do that is to tell it through content. So we sort of was able to carve out this beautiful niche in storytelling content. And that's how the business has sort of grown and evolved. And now we've got an office in Brisbane and one in Melbourne as well. So that's sort of how we started and the inspiration behind it. But I guess, like anyone who's started a business, it did all sort of happen very quickly as a bit of an accident. I was helping a lot of people with their content and doing it, on the side of my full-time job. And then I sort of realized that I had more clients that I was helping outside of my full-time job, and was able to just finish working there and step straight in to Media Mortar, and I haven't looked back. So that's how it's sort of grown. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And as your business has grown, and we've certainly grown to love and appreciate the work that you do. And what I also love what you said, that the correlation and the relationship between content marketing and storytelling is so important. What have been some of the challenges you've been experiencing, particularly in the beginning, as you've really just unpacked this for yourself, to know that's the key to this, in highlighting the importance of content marketing and storytelling, like real authentic storytelling, in being integrated into a digital or a social media campaign?
Yeah, so I think probably like anyone who is in a new media environment in particular, there's a lot of client education that needs to happen. So probably there's two major challenges we have. Firstly is client education, and the second one is the tech changes faster than anyone can keep up with, ourselves included, and we work in this space. In terms of client education, it's very easy for people to understand they need content. Every meeting I go to, everyone has a very clear understanding that they need content, whether it's, Hannah, we need content for our website. We know we need to improve our content because we know we need to rank for SEO. We know we need videos. We know we need images captured. That's not a hard sell. People are content poor generally. That's very easy. And with sort of statements, everyone says content is king. People know content, but the education piece that we spend a lot of our time in, that becomes the challenge, is the value of content. So a lot of the time, content, and the reason why it gets outsourced to a content agency is because the business owner doesn't have time to do it themselves. And let's say it's website copy or blog posts or running your social media. So these are elements or tactics that sit within the content marketing framework. A lot of the time we win that work, or clients come to us, is because they don't have time to do it themselves. It's not that they don't have the skill. Everyone can write. Everyone might not be a brilliant writer, but everyone can write. But they don't have time to do it. And so we're really in the business of time. And so that's probably a challenge that we have, is just a lot of people know that they need content, but they don't understand the value of it, because it is incredibly time consuming to create well. So that's one challenge we have. Probably the second challenge that we really face is the tech changing. So we need to really focus and spend a lot of our time each week upgrading the tech that we use, or understanding how new things are being brought online. So social media is a great example. We just got our head around TikTok, and then Instagram introduced Reels, which is their sort of smackdown to TikTok. And so we've now had to learn how to do Reels for our clients and make sure that our clients are performing on those sorts of channels. So it's keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, when it comes to the tech, to make sure that we're ahead of the game, and making sure that our clients are as well. And that can be quite exhausting, because you don't get given any notice when Instagram launches a new platform, or Facebook changes things, or the algorithms change, or even to have to explain to clients that this worked really well last week, but it's not going to perform this week. And so that can be quite challenging. And Facebook is, as everyone would know, particularly if you've done any paid ads in that space, is just a completely moving beast. And we're learning something new every single day on it. And do present a lot of social media workshops and boot camps, and I've done a lot with Tourism Tribe, and I always get the giggles. There's always one or two people each year who at the start of something to do with social media or content always says, oh, I know everything about this. I'll be surprised what you can teach me. And I am always amused by that comment, because I live and breathe this stuff and I learn something new every day. And that's what I find so rewarding about it, is that it changes. And like, what an opportunity to never finish the book on content marketing. It's constantly evolving before your eyes. So yeah, so they would be the challenges that we have.
Oh, and so valid. And I think what you've really, really nailed there is that we are in the business of time and valuing this in your business. So I love what you've shared, that we all kind of get it, that we need content. But in terms of, would you agree that one of the biggest misconceptions about content marketing is the time required, not just in the execution, but in the planning of the content? Would you talk to that, just a bit of some misconceptions about what is involved in executing a good content marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like anything, if it was a video, and a video is a really nice, easy one to see as a piece of content, you'd have 3 phases. You'd have pre-production, production, and distribution, or post-production in there as well. So maybe four phases. If I was doing any content development, 70% of my time would be spent on pre-production, making sure the story was right, making sure that everything was built correctly, that it was achieving what we wanted to set out. And the same would go for any sort of content you were developing, whether that was words or images or an e-newsletter or you're designing your website. 70% of the time is spent in that planning phase. I think the biggest misconception that people have is that content marketing is firstly cheap, which it isn't necessarily cheap, because it's an incredibly time-consuming piece of marketing. And the second one is that just making content, everyone says content is king, but that doesn't mean all content wears a crown. So people make content and they think, done, tick, I've made the content, I've put it out, my job here is done. And I think content is something that can be very easily DIY'd. I'm a really big advocate for making your own content where possible. It doesn't have to be high production value, and I'll really talk to that. I think authenticity is really what is the crown of content. But I think there is a difference between authentic content and just bad content. And so I think a lot of the time people rush making their content just to put something out there. So one analogy that I think we could all relate to is you just starting to prepare dinner and you go, I haven't done my Instagram or Facebook post for today. I'll just slap something up, and you scroll through your camera roll quickly, grab a picture, throw it up with a caption that doesn't really do anything. It's sort of, let's say you're a hairdresser and it's sort of a picture of a haircut you did, and it just says, like, cute hair, who dis? That doesn't contribute anything to your business. Like, that doesn't make anyone book. That doesn't make anyone come. You haven't told any story. It's not that funny. It's been done. It's not original. Yeah. And then you put up these bits of vanilla content that doesn't move the needle. So I think that to me is probably.
Hannah, the mic just did a little dropout. That's okay. We don't want to miss a thing. It's still not. You're still on mute. It's showing that you're. Try again. No, just a little technical. This can happen. We're not stressed about this.
How about now? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I don't know what happened.
No. No, it's all good. I could just say, like, we don't want to miss anything.
Oh, well, hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, as you were saying about this misconception of content taking time and not doing things at the last minute.
Yep. So I was up to, so we can all sort of relate to that moment where you just put something out into the ether and it doesn't really make a lot of sense, or it's not strategic. It's just put up. that's not a good way of doing content. So content really needs to be planned, and more time should be spent on planning your content than in ever distributing it or producing the piece itself. So I spend a lot of time making content plans, whether they're editorial calendars, social media calendars, video production schedules. Those kinds of things are going to guarantee that your content is aligned to what you want it to achieve. So, it's going back to those basics, is like, well, who is the content for, is the first question to ask. How is it going to be distributed? So I work with a client. It's a really big client, and it's a client who really should know better on this subject. They produced a video, and they didn't brief the videographer to have the video cut down for the right specs for social media. So what happened was that when the video got distributed, it wasn't fit for purpose. And so instead of it being a beautiful piece of crafted content, because they didn't spend enough time in the planning and the briefings phase, the content actually didn't perform, and it was a gross waste of time. So knowing how your content's being distributed at that planning phase is just mission critical to getting it right. So yeah, I think upweight your planning, less time on the delivery, and knowing what your distribution is key to any of this stuff. And what I love about content, and more than any other form of marketing, is it's you can make content efficiencies with it. So what I mean by that is when you buy an expensive pair of shoes and you justify the price because you go, I'm going to wear these every single day for all of summer. The cost per wear is, down to, $2 a wear. I can justify spending more than I'd normally spend on this pair of shoes. You can do that with content as well, because it can be cut many different ways. So if you're going to spend, a week writing a blog post, a really, really good blog post, well, that blog post you can carve it up into Instagram captions, probably 5 or 6, so that one piece of content is now 7 pieces of content. You could read out that blog post as a podcast. So now you've got 8 pieces of content. You could film yourself while recording that podcast, which becomes a YouTube webinar. So now you've got 9 pieces of content. And then you could send that blog post out in an e-newsletter. So now you've got 10 pieces of content. So any time that you invest with content can be cut multiple different ways. And that's what I really love about it.
Oh, that is some great. I hope if anyone is taking some notes there, and I love that too. Julie Travis loves that comment you made there. Quote is king, but not all content wears a crown. It is so true. I love that too. I wrote that one, but I love this approach and system that you've shared in whether it's a video or a written piece of content, that you look at your planning in your pre-planning or pre-production, put a lot more of your focus, because then everything is kind of, you're saving yourself the time and the space as you roll it out. So you do your then you do your production, and then your post-production, and then your distribution. The more thought you put that into that. Some brilliant stuff there. Now, your challenging times, Hannah, just going back to the beginning, and you're growing your business. We were talking in the green room before. You're also expecting, very exciting, your first bubba in a couple of months. And just like as your business has grown and your own digital journey internally with your systems, what are some of the pain points in your growth phase, and the types of systems that you've developed, not only internally for team management, but also your content distribution and your planning? Are there some gold nuggets or systems that are your go-tos that you've discovered along the way to make your life easier?
Yeah, so I think like any business, and I think it's kind of funny, I work in content marketing, but the area of my business that I would say we struggle with the most is our marketing, because, the mechanic always drives the worst car, building house is never finished. You go and have a look at any marketer's website. It's not anywhere near what we'd put into our clients' websites, because we do it all day, every day for everyone else. The last thing you do is your own. That's a massive pain point for us is and I'm very realistic because I am a small business owner, that I've only got finite hours in the day as well as everyone else does. And so I can either be making content, or I can be doing work that pays the bills, which pays the mortgage, so on and so forth. So, I think time is always the biggest barrier for any small business, regardless of whatever industry you're in. But I think ways that we sort of try and, I guess, hack more time or find more time is to be more organized around our content. So it's that time spent in that pre-planning phase. So as an example, our social media is planned for all of December. It's already done. It just runs itself. So all I have to do is hop in and do my community management each day in my stories. So I'm not ever sitting around at 6 p.m. at night going, what am I going to post tonight? So that's already locked and loaded and put away. So I think putting those sorts of plans in place are really good. In terms of a marketing plan, we build with a quarterly theme. So that also helps me stay really focused, because I suffer a shocking case of bright, shiny syndrome. So I'll say what we're doing is we're going to focus on this for this quarter. And then, Instagram drops reels and I'm like, that's it. We're all doing reels now. And I change everything. So that really helps me stay incredibly focused to build a theme for that particular quarter, so that every single thing that we put out for our own media Mortar marketing scales up or ladders up to that theme, to make sure that we've just got one thing that we're consistently doing well that month, and setting really realistic goals or targets as well has been a real help in terms of managing the time. So as an example, one of, the bugbears that I've had, forever has been fixing up our website. So that's on, Q3. So the start of next year's plan is we're fixing our website once and for all. So every single thing that we're going to be doing for that first quarter is going to ladder up to fixing the website and getting that to where it needs to be. So I think setting realistic goals has also helped, in terms of that time challenge, to make a plan, but not overwhelm yourself, because at the end of the day, like anyone who's listening who's running a business, it's a small business. I am the CFO, I am in charge of HR, I am the general manager, and I'm trying to step out for maternity leave, and I'm trying to do all of the things and wear all of the hats. And if you don't have a plan, and you can't do everything, so something's got to come off. It really allows me to see, well, which things are going to deliver the best results, and just focus on those, because there's heaps of stuff we do. I can tell you right here and now in our marketing that contribute 0 leads. So if anything's going to drop, it's those things, It's knowing that stuff.
And so, what a great thing you shared earlier too, and a real pivotal aha moment in a business, because you're really forced to step out of your business at the moment as a small business owner, operator, all hands on deck to have a baby. You have to get everything out of your head to pass on to someone else. And I love that. I think that's a gift to give yourself in business, to be able to really document what you do and give it over to someone else. How was that experience for you? How are you feeling about that?
It's ongoing. So by way of backstory for everyone listening, we were just chatting in the green room beforehand. So I was saying I'm in this moment of handing over my business baby to have a real baby, and it's I think it sounds terrible, but the only thing that could help me hand over the business baby is the fact that I have a human I will soon need to care for. And there's so much I do in my business that no one else knows how to do, because I've always done it. And in handing things over, I've had to be forced to write everything down that I do in a day. And just the list of things, is so many and varied. And it's such a great exercise, because there's processes. I would say, as a person, not always the most systemized or processed person because it's all in my head. But when I started to write it down, I was like, no, I do have a process for how I make decisions or how things get chosen. But unless you write it down, sometimes it doesn't feel so much like it's a process. So it's been a very good exercise. And if I strongly recommend it if you're in a business, is to get those standard operating procedures done. There's a reason, if you've seen the Ray Kroc documentary on Netflix about, how he scaled McDonald's, it's exactly the same process. You don't wake up with, hundreds of, McDonald's or thousands of McDonald's in hundreds of countries. You scale to that point by every single person doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time, so that anyone, no matter where you are, knows when you've got to flip a hamburger. And in my business, it just, like, I was the only person who knew when the hamburgers were flipping because I hadn't told everyone or I hadn't written it down. So there wasn't a process that was being followed. So it was a really, really good exercise, and one that's ongoing because we're still unearthing all manner of things that still need to be handed over that I do. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Look, what an incredible gift in so many ways to have that at this point in your journey, in your business, and in your personal life. I think it's fantastic, and it's going to your scalability. And when you return back to all hands on deck, it's going to be better. So I think there's a lot in that to share with others to do the same. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, the thing I've just realized is in doing it is that I'm the bottleneck, and I would never have described myself as the bottleneck, but because I wasn't handing things over, or there wasn't a process on how to do every single job. There's processes on how to do the jobs I don't do. Like, I don't do heaps of stuff in the business, but the jobs that I do, there wasn't a process for. So it became very clear that I was a bottleneck in the business, which is terrible.
It's really good stuff, and unfortunately, it doesn't come up with a name. That saying about earlier, just also about valuing our time in this way to and create systems, agrees that you've hit it. That we underestimate how long it takes to create great content that can add value to your business. Now, speaking of adding great value to your business and taking content marketing more seriously and looking at it holistically within your digital marketing landscape, when businesses, or when you're trying to really share the benefits and the importance to businesses about the place of content marketing within their digital landscape, what are some of the trends in 2021 that we all need to kind of have our fingers on the pulse and be starting to plan for it now, while we've got this lovely room of coming to an end of the year and starting the new fresh year ahead?
Yeah, well, I've got lots of predictions that I'm working on. So I'll take you through a few of them. And some of them are content marketing related, and some of them are a bit broader. So one, probably the biggest one that I'm suggesting to people at the moment is to stop relying on historical data and how you've always done things. So I'm going into a lot of meetings where we're starting to plan for 2021, and a lot of people say, oh, well, we've always done it this way. And I think that's such a silly thing to say in this post-COVID environment, because how you've done it in 2019 is not going to be how we do it in 2021. I'm spending a lot of time talking to businesses about, well, who's your target audience? And they say, oh, yeah, we've done it. We've done a target audience exercise. We know who that person is. And I sort of think, well, do you? Because is it the same person pre-COVID as a post-COVID world? So I think one of the biggest trends for 2021 is to recalibrate your business in terms of your marketing strategy, who it's targeted for, and who's going to buy or book your product or service. So I think that's probably one of the biggest shifts we need to start to do. Is we can't rely on how it's always been. We need to focus on what this new normal is going to look like. So I'd really encourage you to not look at historical data too closely. Of course, that's all we've got to rely on at the moment. We don't have new data for a post-COVID world. But to start to think and challenge, because what I've seen for a lot of customers of the businesses that of my clients is that, you know, their target audience is now much younger. They're much more nomadic. They spend more money. So the way that things need to be taken into market for them is very, very different. So first tip would be to stop looking at historical data or relying on it too closely. To sort of to put your future goggle on first. So that's the first tip. My second tip is to be first to market. So I would normally, speaking of like pre-COVID, post-COVID, I wouldn't normally say marketing is a race to the top. It's not, it's a real slow and steady game. But for at the moment, and the reason I suggest that is that when everyone hops out of the spotlight and the stage goes dark, the spotlight is automatically yours just by showing up. So what we saw a lot with COVID is that a lot of businesses didn't know what to say, so they said nothing, which meant that the businesses who did stay active, or the people who did communicate with their guests or their customers, they actually got the lion's share of the business out of it just by showing up. So a lot of marketing is just momentum, and a lot of marketing is just showing up. So I would recommend making sure that you've got things ready to go. So I'm speaking from Brisbane today, and we know that our borders are about to open next Tuesday. So do you have a message ready to go if you're in Brisbane on Tuesday to welcome back Sydney and Melbourne? That should be in the bank. It should be ready to go. You should be ready to press play, because it's too late to get that out on Tuesday. It's, the ship will have sailed. It needs to be already locked and loaded. And there's going to be so many of these touch points in 2021, that we can anticipate, whether that's international borders opening as an example, whether that's next year or the year after, who knows? I don't know. But we know there's going to be significant milestones and planning activity around them, so that you can be first into market or have something ready to rumble that you can just press play as soon as announcements are made. So I think that's a really a big deviation opposed to how we traditionally do plan marketing, which is quite a slow burn kind of activity. Other big trends that I would see for next year is to collaborate more and compete less with competitors. So I've seen a lot of brands do co-op partnerships or offer packaged products or packaged experiences and things like that. And I think the rise of the package is going to go up and up and up in terms of trends that way. So people will be looking more to how to experience things, whether it's a product or a service, in a much deeper level. So looking more at your competitors, not as competitors, but as collaborators. How can you do something together? Because if you, I always use this pie analogy, if you can sell a whole pie, you'll sell all 6 slices opposed to just selling one slice of the pie. Because if people don't like the pie, they're not going to come back and get the other 5 slices if they've eaten yours and it just wasn't for them. So I think, that's a really good point, is to sort of start to look at who are your strategic partnerships that you can leverage. How can you build an audience together? How can you leverage off their channels and do more partnership activities are going to become more and more the trend in marketing, particularly as the media buy or media spend is going to become more difficult to get onto perhaps traditional media that we might have ever considered before. And then my last big sort of tip for next year is to really be a thought leader. And I think we've seen this a lot with COVID, is that if you don't stand, when you stand for nothing, you stand for nothing, and you get forgotten, and you don't have anything to say, and you don't have anything to talk about. Whereas the businesses and the brands that I have really remembered through 2021 were the ones who took a really bold stance, for good or bad, or on whatever side of the spectrum, that they took a stance on something that became really important. So I think it's going to become more and more important for every single business to have, a lot of people are talking about an impact statement. So in most people's marketing strategies or their business plans, they have a vision statement or they have a mission statement, but they don't have an impact statement. So an impact statement isn't what you do, it's the so what. Why do you get out of bed every single morning? What is your commitment? What is the world? How are you leaving the world a better place than you left it in your business? So I think coming back to standing for something, being a thought leader, having that impact statement is what's going to become really, really important and really come through your marketing and stand out in the crowd. So they're the things, I guess, from a marketing plan, perspective that I see as the things. I mean, tactically, there's going to be a lot of other, trends as well. We've got Instagram Reels. We know that if you want to get to the top of Instagram, you want more followers. At the moment, all you should be doing is making Reels. Reels get put into the Explore feed. No single images and videos do anymore. It is just reel, 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 reel. If you want to be found, go crazy on Reels. But what I would also sort of argue then is if you're not doing your still and static content well, don't overload yourself with Reels either, because I think, we have to be realistic as business owners as well as what's going to contribute the most to your bottom line or contribute to those marketing goals. So just because it's available doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Tactically, the other area I'd be focusing all my energy on is organic search at the moment. So what we know is that these times are not normal, but what we know is search traffic is very normal. So as an example, we worked with this client this year. We did develop some long form pieces of content for them between March and October in 2020. One of the blog posts alone contributed 47,000 unique sessions just through Google search alone for that client. And that's just from writing one blog post. So that was their return on investment off one piece of content was 47,000 searches for it, which led people back to their website. So local search is through the roof at the moment, and that's going to continue while we don't have international borders. So tactically speaking, this for 2021, focusing on your organic content. So that's the words on your website and blog posts on your websites, articles, things like that. That is absolutely mission critical to being found. Engaging with an SEO specialist is going to be really important so that your content is going to be found in Google, in the sea of Google. And then I guess the third tactical thing to point out is I think ads are going to continue to be really cheap. There's so many people who got pushed out of the market through COVID. So we're seeing some of the best click-through rates we've ever seen on our clients at the moment. So if you've always been put off because of budget, in a pay-to-play environment, now would be the time to give it a go, because you're going to get incredible results and see those returns on investment at a much lower cost because less people are advertising. So they're my sort of strategic tips, and then the practical ones that I'd be implementing at a tactical level as well.
Incredible tips. That is that there was so much goodness in that, and in fact we've got our dear Liz Ward in the house, and she loved what you said about getting your welcome message ready to go, whatever situation you're in regarding mobilization of your market. So so good, Hannah. That is, just stop relying on what's happened and what you've been done in the past, recalibrate, and really, and we're talking about a new year. It's a perfect time to really start with the blank page and say, well, let's look at who our customer is now, because things have changed. I loved what you said about showing up. That is, I know for myself, as soon as you said that, there are businesses that just just showed up, shared what's happening to them, shared authentically what is going on in their world during the phases and the stages of COVID that we've experienced. Love, this speaks to me dearly, like creating collaborations and be more collaborative, less competitive. That's within our DNA, and even together. We live and breathe collaborating together, but I think there is great merit in that. And creating an impact statement, absolutely. If you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. So really, the so what in your business. And what's really important to highlight, we talk a lot about social media, but content, really what you're doing organically is not necessarily what you have to really look at your two different elements or strategies of what you're doing in a paid to play space to what you're doing organically. And the I guess the gold in everything is your website content, and looking at blog posts is not just don't do things because it's there and it's shiny. Love the shiny stuff. I mean, we love the new announcements and the new reels. I mean, that's something that just stops us in our tracks. But it's also stay on your A game, right? I love that. Even what you've shared personally in your business, having that plan and that focus of every quarter, it gets you to stay focused and stay true to that. So some practical things to do right now, if you could speak to anyone about just what is that one thing that they could do today, over the weekend, or next week to start their journey on really refining their content marketing strategy?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, I think. So the first one is I would write down what 3 pieces of content marketing or what 3 content marketing strategies or tactics have you put into place that drives the most sales or revenue to your business, because that's what this is about, right? So as an example, in my business, I wouldn't have been able to tell you this until recently. I was having a really good deep dive into our Google Analytics, and I realized that 60% of our website traffic comes through LinkedIn. But I don't spend 60% of my time on LinkedIn. I spend it on Instagram, which contributes 4% of our website traffic. What am I doing? I should be on LinkedIn. It's driving more traffic. It's way better. It's working for me much harder than Instagram is. So knowing as an example, knowing where those leads are, so you'll start to see a big shift in my planning now, that everything's going on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn first, Instagram second. That's in my business, but in yours, it might be, it might be shooting video content. It might be the Instagram reels. It might be Instagram. It might be your website. It might be SEO. It might be SEM. It might be any other tactics, but writing down what those 3 or 4 things are that have driven the most sales or revenue through your business, and turbocharge each one of those points, because I think it's very easy to get distracted on the bright, shiny things or the things that you personally like. Like I like Instagram a lot more than I like LinkedIn, but it's not contributing to my bottom line. So what am I doing? Yes, I know I need to be there, but I don't need to spend as much time there because it's just not giving me the returns. So that's really interesting. The other thing I do is write a marketing plan. So if you don't have a marketing plan at the 27th of November, you are cutting it pretty fine. I would have it locked and loaded for next year. You do still have time to write it up. And at the very worst case scenario, you could do it in the first week of January. But after that, the cat is out of the bag. You won't get back ahead. And the only way to be proactive with marketing is to have a plan. And if you don't plan, you're just going to chase your tail the entire time. So I'd start with a plan. I would also start with going back to basics on who is your target audience and doing an audience avatar exercise. So we have a couple of DIY tools on our website, and No Tourism Tribe has blog posts about this exact topic on how to define your target audience, just to make sure that you really are crystal clear. And as I said before, it's not going to be the audience you had in 2019. So it's worth doing that exercise again, and I think it's worth doing it every single year. So in my business, in the 3 short years, I can tell you that the clients we worked on in 2017, they're not the clients that we have now. So our customer, their price point is different, they look and feel different, because of course the business has grown. So the clients we once served, we no longer are able to serve because our level of experience, our level of cost, our level of overheads, all of those things has gone up. So our customer has changed with time. So if I was still using my marketing strategy or my marketing plan that I made when I set up the business, it's grossly out of date. So I think going back and having that, checking in on those back to basics things, they're not exciting like Instagram Reels, but they're really the pillars of anything that you're going to do are just absolutely critical, particularly in this world. And I think making your marketing plan is your only way of staying focused. And I did a free webinar over at Media Mortar yesterday on how to write a marketing plan. And controversially, I said that the place that I would start with a marketing plan is a budget, because if you're a small business operator, you're just writing a wish list if you don't have the budget to do any of this stuff. So you have to, I would recommend you start your plan with how much you're willing to spend on marketing for the year, and that's going to allow you to do it, because you know that if you've got, you know, $10,000 as an example, yes, we can start to talk about reskinning websites and doing your website, but if you've got $500, don't put in a website redevelopment into your marketing plan, because it's not going to happen. So just knowing those kinds of things, even the bare cost alone of your hosting would be half of that, you know, even if you're going to build it all yourself on Wix, and then you're going to need to get someone to get some photographs and things like that. So starting with your budget, being realistic, how much you're going to set for this year to deliver those marketing goals, would be where I would really start with that.
Oh, Hannah, practical, pragmatic, realistic, honest. You do have to take into consideration the dollars, like what is the investment I'm willing to make, and then you can work back from that. But I love that measuring. I love what you've shared. There's so much, the numbers behind our websites and our insights on our socials. The numbers tell, you know, in our P&L sheets, they tell a story of the journey we've been on to really paint that picture moving forward. So very, very excellent things that you could do right now. Thank you, Emily, for your comment. Our dear Emily, such a great reminder for businesses to review their Google Analytics, especially during these uncertain and turbulent times. Thanks, Emily. It is very true. I think going back behind the scenes, popping the bonnet of your analytics is an excellent recommendation of where to start with your content marketing. My dear Hannah, such a pleasure. I could keep going and going and going.
Thank you.
I know you're a busy woman, and I appreciate you and the time you've taken to be here with us today. Where can everybody find out more about you and Media Mortar?
Yeah, of course. So we have our website, mediamortar.com.au, letting you know it's going to be refurbed in the new year, as per my plan.
Well, so hard critics on ourselves. Your website's beautiful, but it's such a great website. So I'm looking forward to seeing your, you know, the
next iteration.
Yeah.
Yeah, the back end's held together with gaffer tape like everyone else's website. Just like plug-in update after plug-in update, it needs an overhaul. But so at mediamortar.com.au, you'll also find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Media Mortar, and we've got a YouTube channel at Media Mortar as well. So you'll see on every Wednesday I release a little video which is on LinkedIn and YouTube about a little marketing tip which you might like to follow as well. They're just 3 minutes long, nothing too time consuming, where I share a practical tip or a piece of advice that you could take forward for your business. So that might be of interest as well.
Love it. So good. Thank you again. All the very best with Media Mortar and handing over the business baby for the next little while, and your new human baby. Wishing you all the health and all the good stuff for 2021, Hannah. That's my first Happy New Year to you. Is it too early to say Merry Christmas? I can't believe we're there yet, right?
Party at lunchtime. I'm like, this is weird.
Oh, wow. It is. But we appreciate you dearly. We look forward to working more with you in the new year.
Perfect.
So thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Digital Discovery Show. So much good stuff there, talking about content marketing and how you can start to really make your plans for 2021. Tune in next week. We've got another great episode lined up for you, all centered around the topic of online reputation management. So we're talking to another great expert like Hannah. So tune in, same time, same place. Until next time, may you stay on your digital A game, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week and throughout the week. Thanks again, everyone.